The ship hung silent above Earth's atmosphere, its advanced cloaking system hiding it from human radar and satellites. Inside, 3 aliens watched the blue planet with great interest. Earth is now classified as a Level 3 developing world, said Tai, the mission leader. His gray skin reflected the blue glow of the control panel. We are here to observe only. June, the science officer, nodded while adjusting his instruments. These humans are advancing quickly, but they are still centuries behind us. I have found something strange, said Han, the data specialist. Her 6 fingers moved quickly across the screen. There is an unusual energy reading coming from this area. She pointed to a mountain region. Ta moved closer. Zoom in. The screen showed a small building nestled between tall mountains. It looked simple, but the energy readings were unlike anything they had seen from Earth before. That should not be possible, Jun said. His large eyes blinked rapidly. Humans do not have this technology. We need more information, Tai decided. Prepare the probe. They sent a small drone down to the building. It was invisible to human eyes and made no sound as it slipped through a ventilation shaft. Inside the building, the human worked alone. He moved between complex machines that blinked with lights and displayed equations. The drone scanned him. His name is Sung, Han said, reading the data. He lives alone in this research station. According to Earth's information network, he was once a respected scientist, but is now considered strange. What is he working on? Tai asked. June studied the equations visible on Sung's screens. His body stiffened. This is impossible. These are quantum manipulation theories. But they're advanced. Too advanced. Explain, Ta demanded. He's working on quantum entanglement communication. Even our Federation has limitations with this technology. But his approach is different, possibly better. Han checked more data. He has been rejected by the human scientific community. They call his theories impossible. Ta watched as Sung worked quietly, stopping only to drink from a cup of tea before returning to his calculations. If he continues this research, Jun said with worry in his voice, he might detect our presence. These equations would allow him to sense the quantum disturbances our ship creates. Tai faced a difficult decision. Federation rules strictly forbade contact with developing worlds. But if this human discovered them first, we need to discuss this with Federation Command, Han suggested. Before Tai could respond, alarms blared through their ship. The screens flashed red. What's happening? Ta demanded. June looked at his instruments with disbelief. Someone is scanning us, using quantum detection waves. It's coming from the research station. On the screen, they watched as Sung stopped his work and looked up at the ceiling, almost as if he could see through it to their ship above. Impossible, Han whispered. Our shields should block any Earth technology. It seems we have underestimated this human, Pa said. The alarms grew louder as more systems reported being scanned. Sung walked to a different machine and pressed several buttons. A message appeared on the alien's communication screen. I know you're up there. The message read in perfect Federation standard language. Perhaps you would like to come down for tea. I've been waiting to meet you. The 3 aliens stared at each other in shock. How does he know our language? Han asked. How does he know we're here at all? Jun added. Tai made his decision. We have no choice now. Prepare for contact. He looked at the human on the screen, who was now smiling and preparing another cup of tea. The Federation will not be pleased, Han warned. The Federation doesn't understand what we're dealing with here, Tai replied. This is not an ordinary human. As their ship descended toward the mountains, they wondered what other surprises Sung had in store for them. The small landing craft touched down in a clearing near Sung's research facility. Snow crunched under the craft as its engines powered down. Tai adjusted his appearance modifier, making himself look more human-like. Jun and Han did the same. Remember, Ta said, this is against Federation rules. We must be careful. They walked through the snow toward the simple building. Before they could knock, the door opened. Sung stood there, a gentle smile on his face. "Welcome to Earth," he said, stepping aside. "Please come in. The tea is ready." The aliens entered cautiously. They expected fear, shock, or at least surprise from the human. Instead, Sung acted as if alien visitors were an everyday event. "Your facility is modest," Ta said, looking around at the mix of advanced equipment and simple furniture. Sung poured tea into 4 cups. "I prefer to keep things simple. Fancy labs ask too many questions about my work." Han scanned the room secretly with a small device hidden in her hand. "Your technology is unusual," she said. "Thank you," Sung replied, noticing her scan but saying nothing about it. "I built most of it myself." June couldn't contain his scientific curiosity. "How did you detect our ship?" "Our cloaking technology should be beyond Earth's capabilities." Sung sipped his tea. "Quantum disturbances leave ripples, like stones dropped in water. I built sensors to detect these ripples." He pointed to a small box in the corner. "That device found your ship 3 weeks ago." 3 weeks. Ta nearly dropped his cup. "You've known about us for 3 weeks." "Yes." Sung smiled. "I wanted to see what you would do. When you sent your drone into my lab, I decided it was time to say hello." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Their observation had been compromised from the beginning. "You're not afraid of us?" Han asked. Sung shook his head. "Should I be? You came to observe, not harm. If you wanted to hurt us, you would have done it already." "How can you be so calm about meeting aliens?" Jun asked. Sung walked to a bookshelf filled with old paper books. "Humans have imagined meeting aliens for centuries. In my case, I've been preparing for this moment for years." "Preparing how?" Tai asked. "Learning." Sung touched the spines of several books. "Studying the stars, creating technologies, watching for signals. When conventional science rejected my ideas, I continued alone." Han looked troubled. "How did you learn our language?" "Your drone broadcasts data in your language. I analyzed the patterns." Sung tapped his temple. "Languages are just patterns. Once I understood the basic structure, the rest was simple mathematics." "Simple mathematics," Jun repeated, astonished. "It took me 5 years to learn basic Earth languages." Sung smiled politely but said nothing. Tai studied the human carefully. The Federation classifies humans as a developing species, centuries away from interstellar capabilities. "Classifications can be wrong," Sung replied. He walked to a large machine in the center of the room. "Would you like to see what I've been working on?" Before Tai could answer, his communication device beeped. He checked it, his expression turning serious. "The Federation Council has detected our unauthorized landing," he told his companions. "They're sending an inspection team. Senior official Min will arrive within 1 day." "Is that bad?" Sung asked. "Very," Han said. "Min is known for strictly enforcing Federation rules. Contact with developing worlds is forbidden." "Then we don't have much time," Sung said calmly. He pressed a button on his machine, and the room filled with a holographic display of stars and equations. "Let me show you why your Federation might want to reconsider Earth's classification." The 3 aliens watched in amazement as Sung began to explain his work, revealing knowledge that no human should possess. Jun stared at the equations floating in the air of Sung's lab. His large alien eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to process what he was seeing. "This cannot be right," he said, pointing to one section of Sung's work. "These quantum principles contradict the laws of galactic physics." Sung smiled patiently. "They don't contradict them. They expand them." He moved his hand through the hologram, rearranging the numbers and symbols. "See, when you add this factor, everything balances." Han moved closer to the display. "But that would mean—" "Yes." Sung nodded. "Instant communication across any distance. No delay. No signal degradation." Ta, who had been quietly watching, stepped forward. "If this works, it would revolutionize space travel and communication throughout the galaxy." "It works," Sung said simply. He walked to a small device on his workbench. This prototype can already link quantum particles across Earth. With better materials, I could reach much further. June shook his head in disbelief. Even our best scientists haven't solved this problem. How did you? I think differently, Sung replied. Your science follows certain paths. Mine takes shortcuts through the woods. Han had been secretly scanning Sung's brain activity. She looked at her device with confusion. Your brain structure is normal for a human. Nothing unusual. Did you expect to find something different? Sung asked with amusement. Yes, Han admitted. Your intellect suggests enhanced neural pathways or artificial augmentation. Sung laughed softly. I'm just a regular human who sees patterns others miss. Jun tried to debate with Sung about quantum theory, throwing out complex questions and scenarios. Each time, Sung answered calmly, sometimes drawing simple diagrams to explain his points. After 20 minutes, Jun fell silent. I can't keep up with him, Jun whispered to Ta. His mind makes connections faster than I can follow. Ta nodded gravely. He stepped away and activated his communication device. I need to report this to Federation Command. This human, he changes everything. While Tai spoke quietly in the corner, Han continued her analysis of Sung. May I ask how you learned all this? Human science databases show nothing close to your level of understanding. Sung walked to the window, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. 5 years ago, I had a dream. When I woke up, I understood quantum mechanics in a new way. My colleagues called me crazy when I shared my ideas. So you came here alone? Han asked. Sometimes being alone is the only way to hear your own thoughts clearly, Sung replied. In the silence, I could build what I imagined. Tai returned, his face serious. The Federation is sending specialists to verify your work. If it's valid, they will. He paused, searching for the right words. Take it, Sung suggested. Share it, Tai corrected, though his eyes showed uncertainty. For the benefit of all spacefaring species, Sung smiled knowingly. Of course. Jun was still examining the equations. Even if we had these formulas, I'm not sure we could understand them fully. Your approach is so intuitive. That's why I'll need to come with my work, Sung said calmly, to explain it properly. The 3 aliens looked at him in surprise. You want to leave Earth? Han asked. Temporarily, Sung nodded. To meet your Federation leaders and share my discoveries properly. Ta looked troubled. That's not possible. The regulations forbid. A loud beep from Ta's device interrupted him. He checked it, his expression growing even more serious. Min's ship has arrived early. They're entering Earth's atmosphere now. Sung seemed unworried. Then we should prepare to greet them, shouldn't we? As the aliens hurried to prepare for the inspection team's arrival, none of them noticed Sung quietly activating a hidden device beneath his workbench. A soft blue light pulsed once, sending a signal deep into the mountains. The sky rumbled as a large ship broke through the clouds above Sung's research facility. Unlike the small craft Ta's team had arrived in, this vessel made no attempt to hide. It was 3 times larger and gleamed silver in the morning sun. That's Min's diplomatic cruiser, Han explained to Sung as they watched from the window. The size shows his importance. Sung nodded. Impressive, but a bit showy. The ship landed in the clearing, crushing small trees under its weight. A ramp extended from its side, and 5 aliens walked out. The one in front wore elaborate robes with symbols of rank and power. Senior Official Min, Ta said quietly to Sung. He oversees all Federation operations in this sector of the galaxy. Ta, Jun, and Han stood stiffly as Min entered the building, followed by 4 scientists carrying equipment. Min's eyes narrowed when he saw Sung. This is the human, Min asked, not bothering to greet anyone. His voice translator had a cold, metallic quality. Yes, Senior Official. This is Sung, Tai answered, bowing slightly. Min walked around Sung, examining him like a curious museum exhibit. You've caused quite a stir, human. The Federation Council is not pleased with this unauthorized contact. I'm sorry for the trouble. Sung replied calmly. Would you like some tea? Min ignored the offer. The Federation has monitored Earth for 73 years. We classified humans as a developing species with limited potential. Your work suggests we may have been hasty in our assessment. One of Min's scientists began setting up advanced scanning equipment around the lab. We need to verify your work, Min continued. If it is as significant as Ta claims, the Federation will need to reconsider Earth's classification. Sung smiled. And if it is significant? Min's expression remained cold. Then we offer knowledge exchange. The Federation shares scientific information with species that demonstrate sufficient advancement. That sounds fair, Sung said. What kinds of knowledge does the Federation share? Min gestured to another scientist, who activated a holographic display. Images of advanced technologies appeared in the air: medical devices, agricultural systems, and clean energy sources. These innovations could solve many of Earth's problems, Min said. Disease, hunger, pollution, all could be addressed with Federation technology. Sung studied the images. In exchange for my quantum communication system. Yes, Min confirmed. A fair trade. Sung walked slowly around the holographic display. I have conditions. Min's eyes narrowed. Conditions. The technology must be shared with all Earth nations, not just powerful ones, Sung said, and I must oversee the implementation. That is not how we operate, Min said firmly. We select appropriate representatives to receive knowledge, usually governments or major corporations. Then we have a problem. Sung replied. My work, my rules. The room grew tense. Min's scientists stopped their work, watching the exchange. You don't understand your position, Min said coldly. Earth has no say in Federation matters. You should be grateful for any knowledge we offer. Ta stepped forward. Senior official, perhaps we can find middle ground. Be silent, Min snapped. You've already broken protocols by making contact. Sung remained calm. You need my work more than I need your technology, senior official Min. That gives me some bargaining power, doesn't it? Min's face showed a flash of anger before he regained control. You are very confident for a member of a species that hasn't even left its own solar system. Perhaps that will change soon, Sung said with a small smile. Min turned to his scientists. Complete your scans of the human's work. I want full verification within 2 hours. He looked back at Sung. Then we'll discuss what your discovery is truly worth. As Min walked away to consult with his team, Ta moved closer to Sung. Be careful, Ta whispered. Min has ended careers for less disrespect than you just showed. Sung nodded slightly. Some risks are worth taking, Ta, especially when you're holding better cards than they think you are. 2 hours later, Min's scientists gathered around a table filled with data screens. They spoke in hushed voices, occasionally glancing at Sung, who sat calmly drinking tea. We have completed our analysis, the lead scientist announced to Min. The humans' quantum theories are valid, more than valid. They are revolutionary. Min frowned. Explain. His approach bypasses the quantum uncertainty problems we've struggled with for centuries, the scientist said. It's elegant, simple, yet we never considered it. Min walked over to Sung. It seems your work has impressed my team. The Federation is prepared to begin a knowledge exchange. Excellent, Sung replied. Let's start with your propulsion systems. Min looked surprised. Most species first ask for medical or agricultural technology. I'm not most species, Sung said with a small smile. Min nodded to one of his scientists, who brought forward a teaching device. This will explain our basic propulsion theories. The device projected complex diagrams and equations. Min expected Sung to need hours or days to understand the information. Instead, Sung studied it for only 10 minutes. Your engines rely on gravitational manipulation, Sung said, pointing to a key equation. But there's inefficiency here. If you adjusted this variable, you could improve power output by 30%. The scientist looked at the equation, then checked calculations on his device. His eyes widened. He's right. Min's face showed no emotion, but his fingers tightened around his datapad. Show him the communication systems. For the next hour, the aliens presented various technologies. Each time, some quickly grasped the concepts and often suggested improvements. The Federation scientists became increasingly uncomfortable. This isn't normal, Jum whispered to Ta. No species learns this quickly. Han checked her scanning device. His brain activity is unusual. It's processing information at an incredible rate. Min watched Sung carefully. The human was now explaining his own quantum communication theory to the Federation scientists. They struggled to follow his explanations. With this system, Sung said, pointing to his equations, ships could communicate instantly across any distance. No delay, complete security. If implemented, this would change the power balance in the Federation. Min said quietly to his assistant, smaller worlds could coordinate as effectively as larger empires. The assistant nodded. The Council will want to control access to this technology. Min made a decision. He approached Sung again. Your work is impressive. The Federation offers you a position as a special advisor. You would have access to our research facilities and databases. And Earth? Sung asked. Earth would receive appropriate technology for its development level. Min replied carefully. Sung stood up and walked to the window. That's not what we agreed. My work is shared freely, or not at all. Min's voice hardened. You don't understand galactic politics. Some technologies must be controlled for stability. I understand control very well, Sung replied. That's why I won't give you mine without guarantees. Min's patience ended. The Federation does not negotiate with pre-spaceflight species. Your choice is simple. Cooperate and benefit, or resist and gain nothing. Sung turned from the window. There's another option you haven't considered. What option? Min asked. Before Sung could answer, one of the scientists called out in alarm. Senior official, I'm detecting unusual quantum activity throughout this facility. Min spun around. Explain. Something is activating, the scientist said, checking his instruments. Quantum entanglement patterns are forming everywhere. All eyes turned to Sung, who stood calmly by the window. A small device in his hand glowed blue. What have you done? Min demanded. I've made my choice, Sung replied. Now you'll have to make yours. The blue glow from the device spread throughout the room. The aliens' instruments began to flash warnings as something new and unexpected entered the game. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Min's scientists rushed to their equipment, frantically checking readings and shouting to each other. Quantum entanglement is spreading throughout the building, one scientist reported. I can't identify the pattern. Min turned to Sung, his face tight with anger. Shut it down. Now. I can't, Sung replied calmly. Once quantum entanglement begins, it can't be stopped. Ta stepped forward. What are you doing, Sung? This wasn't part of our agreement. There was no agreement, Sung said. Only assumptions. One of Min's younger scientists, who had been quietly watching everything, suddenly moved to Sung's side. His name badge identified him as Da. Senior official, Da said, I believe what's happening is not a weapon. It's a network. Min looked at the young scientist with suspicion. Explain yourself, Da. The quantum patterns are connecting, not destroying, Da said, pointing to the readings. It's a communication system activating. Min stared at Da, then at Sung. Is this true? Sung nodded. Da understands. This is what I've been working on for years. A quantum network that can connect minds and machines across any distance. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Ta asked. Would Min have listened? Sung looked at the Federation official. Or would he have taken my research and restricted it? Min's silence was answer enough. I've monitored your conversations with your superiors, Min, Sung continued. You plan to take my work and give Earth only limited benefits. Min's eyes widened. That's impossible. Our communications are encrypted. Quantum entanglement breaks all encryption, Sung replied. I heard everything. The blue glow from Sung's device had now spread to every corner of the room. Screens displayed data flowing in complex patterns. What you're seeing is a prototype, Sung explained, a small version of what could connect the galaxy. Day studied the displays with growing excitement. This could revolutionize how species communicate. Knowledge could be shared instantly between worlds. That's exactly what the Federation fears, Min said coldly. Unrestricted knowledge transfer would destabilize our carefully controlled system. Sun walked to a large machine in the corner of his lab. The blue glow was strongest here. This is the main node of my network. I built it from parts I ordered from different countries, so no one would notice the pattern. He pressed his hand against the machine's surface. A panel slid open, revealing a complex device pulsing with energy. This is what you wanted, Min, Sung said. My quantum communication prototype. But it's already active and connected to other nodes. What other nodes? Min demanded. Where? Sung smiled. Around the world. I'm not working alone. This revelation stunned the aliens. They had assumed Sung was an isolated genius, but now realized he had a network of collaborators. Min moved quickly. Secure the prototype. We're taking it and the human back to Federation headquarters for further study. Two of Min's guards moved toward Sung, but Da stepped between them. This goes against Federation principles, Da protested. Knowledge should be shared, not stolen. Stand aside, junior scientist, Min ordered. This is a matter of galactic security. No, Da replied firmly. This is about control. Sung watched this exchange with interest, then spoke quietly to Tai and Han. You must choose sides now. What the Federation becomes in the next generation will be decided by actions taken here today. Min pulled out a control device. Enough talking. I'm calling for reinforcements. Before he could activate it, all the lights in the facility flickered. The quantum glow from Sung's machines grew brighter. Too late, Sung said. The demonstration has already begun. The walls of Sung's facility hummed with energy. Outside, the sky darkened as clouds gathered unnaturally fast above the mountains. Min's ship, still in the clearing, was bathed in blue light from somewhere below the ground. What demonstration? Min demanded, his voice rising. What have you activated? Sung walked to the large window. Look outside. It's beginning. Everyone moved to the window. Across the valley, blue lights winked on, one after another. First dozens, then hundreds. They formed a pattern that spread across the landscape. Quantum receivers, Sung explained, placed throughout these mountains over the past year. Impossible, one of Min's scientists muttered. The energy required to power so many is provided by the mountain itself, Sung said. Small generators using the natural heat and movement of the earth. Min's communication device beeped urgently. He checked it, his face growing pale. Federation sensors are detecting quantum entanglement signatures across the entire planet, Min said. How? How did you build a global network without anyone noticing? Sung smiled. Who said we just built it? This network has been growing for years. He pressed a button on his control panel. A world map appeared on the main screen. Thousands of blue dots lit up across every continent. Each dot pulsed in perfect sync with the others. These are my colleagues, Sung explained. Scientists, engineers, and thinkers who shared my vision. People whose ideas were also rejected by mainstream science. Day studied the map with growing excitement. A hidden collective of human researchers. Yes, Sung nodded. Working separately but connected. Preparing for this day. Min looked furious. You deceived us. Made us believe you were working alone. You assumed I was alone, Sung corrected, because you underestimated humans. Ta stepped closer to the map. What is the purpose of this network? Communication, Sung said. Instant sharing of knowledge across the world and beyond. Min's device beeped again. This time, the message made him freeze in shock. Federation monitoring satellites around Earth are being accessed, Min said. The quantum signals are reaching orbit. Sung nodded. Phase 2. The network is expanding outward. You're trying to access our technology, Min accused. No, Sung replied. We're offering to share ours. The screens in the facility suddenly displayed a simple message in multiple languages, including the Federation standard. Greetings from Earth. We are ready for CONVERS81. Han looked at Sung with new understanding. This wasn't about one quantum theory. This was first contact on your terms. Yes, Sung said. Your Federation has watched Earth for decades, classifying us, judging us. It was time we introduced ourselves properly. The building shook slightly as something large rose from behind the mountains. A sleek craft, unlike any Earth design the aliens had seen, hovered in the air. It glowed with the same blue energy as Sung's network. That's not possible, Min whispered. Humans don't have this technology. Official human governments don't, Sung corrected. But our collective has worked in secret, pooling knowledge and resources. The craft moved closer, then settled in the clearing next to Min's ship. It was smaller but clearly more advanced in design. Min turned to his guards. Secure this facility immediately. No one leaves. Before they could move, the power went out. When emergency lights came on seconds later, 6 more humans stood in the room. They had entered silently and without warning. These are my colleagues, Sung said, introducing them. Like me, they'd been preparing for this meeting. A woman stepped forward. The quantum network is now linked to Federation satellites. Your council has received our message. Min looked from face to face, realizing he had lost control of the situation. His carefully planned mission had turned into something entirely unexpected. What do you want? He finally asked. Sung looked at him calmly. What everyone wants, Min. A seat at the table. Light years away, in the heart of Federation space, an emergency council meeting was called. Delegates from 50 species gathered in a grand chamber. Holographic displays showed the quantum signals spreading from Earth. This is unprecedented, the council leader said. A pre-spaceflight world should not have this technology. Not only do they have it, another council member added, they have improved it beyond our capabilities. Min's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth. Council members, I recommend immediate containment action. These humans have hidden their true development level and have technologies that threaten Federation security. A debate erupted among the delegates. Some called for military intervention, arguing that Earth had violated Federation protocols by developing advanced technology in secret. Others urged caution, pointing out that aggression against a world with quantum network capabilities could be dangerous. Back on Earth, Sung and his colleagues waited calmly as Min reported to the council. They could hear the entire conversation through their quantum link. They're afraid, one of Sung's colleagues commented. They never expected this from humans. Sung nodded. Fear leads to poor decisions. We need to show them we're not a threat. He stepped forward and spoke clearly, knowing his words would be transmitted to the council. Honorable Federation delegates, I am Sung of Earth. We apologize for the surprise, but we had to ensure we were heard. The council chamber fell silent. Then the leader responded. How are you accessing this channel? The quantum network allows us to join any conversation linked to it. Sung explained. We wanted to speak directly to you, without filters or intermediaries. In the facility, Min looked furious at this interruption. This human does not speak for Earth's governments. He represents a hidden faction. Sung smiled. That's true. But our network now connects research centers, universities, and independent thinkers across the planet. We speak for humanity's potential, not its politics. On the council screen, delegates whispered to each other. The leader finally spoke again. What is your purpose in contacting the Federation this way? To change the relationship, Sung replied. Earth has been watched and judged without our knowledge for decades. Now we want dialogue as equals. Equals? A delegate scoffed. Your world is divided, conflict-ridden, and has barely reached its own moon. Ta, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. Council members, I have spent time with these humans. Their thinking is different, creative in ways we haven't seen before. They make connections we miss. Day joined him. Their quantum theories solve problems our scientists have worked on for centuries. We should listen to what they offer. The council leader looked troubled. And what do you offer, humans? Partnership, Sung said simply. We share our quantum network. You share your knowledge. Together we solve bigger problems. And if we refuse? One delegate asked. Then we continue alone, Sung replied. But connected as we now are to your communication systems, we will learn much anyway. This statement caused another uproar in the council. Some delegates demanded immediate military action to destroy Earth's quantum network. Others called for diplomacy. The leader raised a hand for silence. This requires careful consideration. We will recess for 1 hour. As the transmission ended, Min turned to Sung. You've created a crisis. The Federation has protocols for dealing with threats. We're not a threat, Sung said. We're a surprise. There's a difference. Outside, more human ships had appeared above the mountains. They made no aggressive moves, simply hovering in formation. Han studied her scanners. Their technology is unusual, not following any standard development path. Because they thought differently, Ta said quietly, just as Sung does. Min paced the room, his plans in ruins. One human caused all this. One human who refused to follow the rules. Sung looked at him calmly. Sometimes rules need to change. Min. That's how the universe grows. The hour passed slowly in Sung's facility. Outside, human ships maintained their silent formation. Inside, Sung and his colleagues waited calmly while Min and his team watched them with suspicion. Tae approached Sung. What will you do if the Federation chooses conflict? They won't, Sung replied. They are smart enough to see that would benefit no one. You seem very sure, Ta said. Sung smiled. I study your history. The Federation grew through cooperation, not conquest. That's your true strength. The main screen lit up again. The Federation Council had reconvened. The leader's face appeared, serious but composed. After much debate, the leader began. The Council has reached a decision. We recognize that Earth has demonstrated technology and thinking that exceeds our classification. Therefore, we offer provisional recognition of Earth as an emerging power. Min looked shocked. Council leader, I must object. This goes against all protocols. The protocols were designed for normal situations. The leader replied. This is not normal. Sung stepped forward. We accept your recognition. And to show our good faith, I will explain our quantum network fully. He gestured to one of his colleagues, who activated a display showing the complete design of the quantum communication system. Our network was never intended as a weapon. Sung explained. It was designed to connect minds across space, to share knowledge, not to steal it. The council leader studied the design. This could change how the galaxy communicates. That's the intention, Sung said, but it must be shared equally with all worlds. No restrictions based on size or power. Some council members looked uncomfortable with this idea, but the leader nodded slowly. An interesting condition. It's non-negotiable, Sung said firmly. Knowledge shared freely benefits everyone. Knowledge control benefits only the controllers. Day moved to stand beside Sung. Council leader, I believe this human speaks wisdom. Our federation was founded on principles of cooperation, not control. Min glared at Da. You forget your place, junior scientist. No, Day replied. I remember the true purpose of science. To explore and share, not to restrict and control. The council debated among themselves again. Finally, the leader spoke. We propose a compromise. Earth will send representatives to Federation headquarters to discuss formal relations. Meanwhile, the joint research team will study the quantum network. Acceptable, Sung agreed, with one addition. The Federation will share its database of spacefaring species and their technologies with Earth's scientists. After a pause, the leader nodded. Agreed. This marks a new chapter in galactic relations. As the transmission ended, Min looked at Sung with a mixture of anger and respect. You forced the Federation to change policies that have stood for centuries. Sometimes change is necessary for growth, Sung replied. The tension in the room finally began to ease. Federation scientists and Sung's colleagues started talking, sharing ideas and questions. The first true exchange between worlds had begun. Later, as the sun rose the next morning, Sung and Tai stood outside the facility, watching the mountains turn gold in the early light. Your Federation thought one human wouldn't matter, Sung said. That's the problem with classifying entire species. You missed the exceptions. Ta nodded. We underestimated you. All of you. And we knew nothing about you, Sung replied. Now we can learn from each other. Will Earth truly unite because of this? Tai asked. Sun watched as one of the human ships rose into the bright sky. Not overnight, but having the stars within reach changes how people see their problems. What happens next? Tai asked. We talk. We learn. We grow, Sung said simply. As equals. Below them, in the valley, more Federation ships were landing. Scientists, diplomats, and engineers from both Earth and the Federation were gathering. The quantum network glowed softly, connecting them all. One human changed the galaxy today, Tai observed. Sung smiled. No, one human just opened the door. We'll all walk through it together.